rotation, and revolution.
The Earth's rotation lasts 24 hours. The Earth rotates counterclockwise like this along its axis. The Earth's revolution lasts 365 days a year, and it's when the Earth goes around the sun, just like this. So if this were the Earth, it would go around the sun, just like this. It would take 365 and 1/4 days to complete one revolution.
Okay, the Earth is not straight up and down. The Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees on its axis. This creates your seasons, because different parts of the Earth are getting different amounts of direct sunlight. If you are tilted towards the sun, like the northern hemisphere is here, then you're experiencing summer. The southern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, so it would be experiencing winter. Now the opposite of that is for us in the northern hemisphere. During the winter time, we're tilted away from the sun now. Now the direct sunlight is hitting the southern hemisphere, so it's summer for them, winter for us. So they're opposite. Whatever season we're in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere is the opposite season. For instance, if we go to the diagram, this is the sun, that's why it says sun. Now, for us, we'll start off with the summer. There's the Earth, there's the tilt. If you see, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, so it's summertime. Then the Earth revolves around the sun, so 3 months later, this would be the fall. Now, during the fall, the Earth is not tilted towards the sun or away from the sun, but the sun is hitting the Earth's side. So it's going to be fall in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it'd be spring. 3 months later, you get winter time. The northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, and the southern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. So for us, we'd have winter, southern hemisphere would have summer. And then 3 months later, the side of the Earth is facing the sun, so we're spring, and the southern hemisphere would have fall. Okay. Now, there's 2 dates you need to know. June 22nd is the first one. That's the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. By longest day of the year, I mean you have the most hours of daylight. Okay, everybody knows in the summertime it doesn't get dark till late. Well, June 22nd, it might not get dark till 9:30 at night because we're tilted towards the sun, getting more direct sunlight. So they call it the summer solstice, the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. Now what that means, you have 3 lines on the Earth: the Tropic of Cancer, the Equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn. These are 3 imaginary lines. Now during the summer solstice, direct sunlight is hitting the Tropic of Cancer. Longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. Shortest day of the year in the southern hemisphere because it's tilted away from the sun, so it's winter. For us, it's summer. Now the opposite of that is December 22nd. Now, December 22nd, as you can see, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, so it's winter time for us. Now the southern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, so it's summertime for them. Now, the Tropic of Capricorn is getting direct sunlight, so it would be the longest day of the year for the southern hemisphere and the shortest day of the year for us. Everybody knows in December it gets dark early because days are shorter up here because we're tilted away from the sun. And down here, they're tilted towards the sun, so their days are longer, and it's summertime for them. Now, the Earth doesn't get direct sunlight. The sunlight on, I should say, all of the Earth doesn't get direct sunlight. If you live between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, they call those the tropics. Okay, it generally gets direct sunlight all year round, so it's warm in that area. The opposite would be the poles. Above 60-degree north latitude, this area, and below 60-degree south latitude, this area. It's generally always cold. Here's why. When the Earth's sunlight, or when the sun's sunlight hits the Earth, it can either be direct, which is a direct 90-degree angle hitting the Earth where it'd be very hot, or it could be spread apart. the same amount of sunlight, the same amount of energy in a big spread apart circle. So it's not going to be as hot. So if you live in this area, between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, you're always getting direct sunlight, so it's always warm. If you live near the poles, you can see the sunlight is spread apart. So up here, it's going to be colder because you're not getting direct sunlight. So direct sunlight, up here, indirect sunlight, so it's not as warm.